In this video, we're going to be reviewing Unit 7, Coordinate Plane. So in the beginning of your notebook, make sure you're filling in those units of study for Unit 7, SOL 6.8, Coordinate Plane. Then turn back in your notebook. You can find where the spiral's down the middle. You have 2 blank pages, and you can fill in Unit 7, Coordinate Plane. Fold in that corner, and then turn the page, and we will start our notes for Coordinate Plane. So let's first review what is the coordinate plane. So you can draw a coordinate plane. It is formed by the intersection of 2 number lines that meet at their zero. So let's write that in. So it is formed by the intersection of 2 number lines at their zero. So you can see that I have a vertical number line and I have a horizontal number line. And they both meet right there in the middle, and that would be like the zero of the horizontal, because we would have the negatives over here, and we would have the positives over here. And then the same thing for this vertical line. We would have the negatives here and the positive here. So the point in the middle is where the zeros would be. So we notate that by saying 0, 0. And that actually has a fancy name called the origin. And if you like superhero movies, they often do origin movies, which is how they started. So the origin is actually where you start in the coordinate plane. Now we do have names for these lines, or the names for the number lines. So the horizontal number line is the x-axis, and the vertical number line is the y-axis. And the way you can remember that is you are always raising your hand and saying, why do we need to do things that way? You're always asking the question of why, usually whenever you're raising your hand. So you can think of the vertical line as y, and then x is the horizontal line. The other thing that we have to write in here is we need to write in our quadrants. And there are 4 quadrants on the coordinate plane. And coordinate plane starts with a C, so I'm going to start by drawing a big letter C. And then the quadrants go in order of that C. So this is quadrant 1, and you need to make sure you use Roman numerals. Quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So those are all the main pieces of our coordinate plane. So we have the x-axis, the y-axis, the origin, and then the 4 quadrants. So let's actually talk about plotting points. So an ordered pair is what gives the location of the point. And we're always going to start at the middle at 0, 0. Now, x, when we're looking at the point, comes first, and y comes second. So x is that horizontal, and we kind of talked about this in that mini video that you guys watched last week with Unit 6. And then the y is the vertical line. And you can remember this as you're going to walk and then fly. Walk and fly, x and y. So walking goes horizontal, and then flying an airplane, you can go up or down. So let's actually practice plotting some of these points. And we started last week kind of talking about this just in quadrant 1, which was the first quadrant here. But now we're going to expand it to all 4 quadrants. So remember, you have to go horizontal first. So in the video that we watched last time, our horizontals were letters, Well, this time our horizontals are numbers. So let's plot point A. So I'm going to start in the middle always. And if you need to, write start there. So you remember, always start in the middle. And I'm going to, just like I would play Battleship, I'm going to walk. So I'm going to go my X first, and it's positive. So I'm going to go over to 4. And then from there, I have to go up to 5. So I'm going to go, oops, I'm going to start at 4 and go up to 5. And there's my point for point A. If I do point B, I'm still going to start back in the middle, but I have to start by going backwards to -2. So I'm going to go from here, and then it's +6. So I'm going to go up to 6. So there's letter B. Letter C, I have to go backwards, that's 7. So I'm going to start in the middle, go backwards to -7. And then I have a -3, so I'm going to go down 3 from -7. So there's negative, that is letter C. And if you need to, you can connect them so you can see where they're connecting on that coordinate plane, so you can see the intersection of those points. So we did B, we did C. Why don't you try to do D by yourself? So if you're doing D, you're starting in the middle. I'm going to go over to +8. So I went right to +8, and then I'm going to go down to -8. And you can see they are intersecting right here, so that's D. Now E is a tricky one, and I'm actually going to change the color because these ones are a little bit different. So you can see that they have zeros in them for the next few. So for the first one, I'm starting at 0, so I don't go anywhere side to side, but my vertical is going to be 8. So I stay just on the line, and I go straight up to 8, and that's going to be point E. Same thing for F. I don't go anywhere side to side, but I have to go down to 2 for F. Why don't you try G and H? So for G, I'm going to start in the middle. Now this one, the number's first. So I actually have to go to the number, which would be here, and then I don't go any up or down. So this one is G. And then the same thing for H. I'm going to go over to 6, but I don't go any up or down. So that one is H. All right, last little bit. This is referring to what is the location. So you might have questions that ask you what is the location of certain points. So the first one is asking you what is the location of point B. So I'm going to look back at my coordinate plane, and I'm looking for point B. And point B is right here. And when you're looking for locations, you need to make sure you're paying attention to those quadrants. So this is quadrant, put it in pencil. So this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4, and then remember this is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. So when we're talking about the location of point B is in quadrant 2. So we can just put a capital Q and the Roman numeral 2. Now the next one, it wants to know what is the location of point D. So I'm going to find point D. There's point D. And if I look at point D, it is located in quadrant 4. So I can write over here quadrant 4. Now I need to do point G. I'm going to look back at my coordinate plane. Where is point G? It's right here. Now point G is not in a quadrant. Point G is actually on the x-axis. So when we go to write that one in, it is located on that horizontal or the x-axis. And the last one we have to look at is point E. Point E is right here. And point E is located on the y-axis. So this would be y-axis. So when points are on the axes, you have to say they're on the axis. But if they're just in the open space of the quadrant, like you could see B and D were, same thing with A and C, they're in the open space. Those would be in quadrants, but when they actually fall on the lines, they're on axes. So make sure you let your teacher know if you have any questions about coordinate plane, and I hope you have a wonderful day.